Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let's talk about something that probably makes almost everyone listening feel a little tense.
Oh, yeah?
The job interview.
Ah, yes. That classic scenario. It doesn't matter how much experience you have, right? It can still trigger that full body panic.
Exactly. You prep for hours, you've got the perfect outfit, maybe you've even rehearsed answers, but then you're sitting there face to face, they ask something a bit sideways, and suddenly, poof, mind blank.
It happens. It really does. That cognitive shutdown where you just can't access the information you know is in there. It's incredibly common, even for super high performers.
Huh.
Totally normal.
It's terrifying, though, that feeling of just nothing. So that's why we're here today. We've gathered, well, a pretty deep stack of source material, all focused on interview strategy.
Right.
And we're not just talking about what words to say, it's more about the psychology of it all, mastering that conversation.
Exactly. The mission for this deep dive is really to help you flip that switch. Turn that feeling of dread into, well, preparedness, confidence even.
Yeah.
We want to give you actionable steps, those frameworks you can rely on, and crucially, those recovery phrases, for when you get stuck. Because it happens.
So you can handle those moments.
Yeah. The goal is to shift it from feeling like an interrogation, which is awful, into a productive, professional conversation, an exchange.
I like that framing, interrogation versus conversation. And that mindset shift, that's really the foundation, isn't it? It starts way before you're actually in the room.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Preparation is everything.
Yeah.
But maybe not the kind of preparation most people think of.
Let's dig into that. The essential foundation, preparation and mindset. Okay, so when people think prep, they often think script, memorizing answers to every possible question they can imagine.
Right. Writing it all out, word for word.
Yeah, but what does our research actually say about that? Is scripting the way to go?
No. Pretty much the opposite, actually. The sources are really clear on this. It's kind of counterproductive. The big takeaway, the sort of core philosophy you need is don't memorize answers, understand ideas.
Understand ideas,
Yeah.
not memorize answers. Okay.
Yeah. If you try to deliver a script, you sound, well, robotic, mechanical.
I can see that.
And interviewers pick up on that instantly. It just breaks the natural flow. Plus, what happens if they ask something slightly off script?
You panic because you don't know what to say next.
Exactly. You don't have that underlying understanding to fall back on. You're just lost without the script.
So if we're ditching the script, what are we building instead? Like a mental toolkit.
That's a great way to put it, a toolkit.
Yeah.
Or a library of core concepts and stories, things you can pull out and adapt as needed flexibly.
Right. So the goal is to sound thoughtful, authentic, engaged.
Precisely. If you genuinely understand the core idea, maybe it's about your problem-solving skills or how you work in a team, you can talk about it naturally, even if you phrase it a bit differently each time.
And that's where the right kind of research comes in. You need to connect your stories, your toolkit, to what they actually need.
Yes. And this requires focus.
Right.
Real focus, not just skimming the job description.
We see that, right? Candidates know the job title, maybe the company name, but they haven't gone deep.
You need to nail down 3 specific pillars of research before you even think about walking in that door. Not negotiable.
Okay, what are the 3 pillars?
All right, pillar 1, the company. And this is way more than just the About Use page on their website.
Okay.
You need to understand their goals. What are they trying to achieve? What are they proud of recently? But also, crucially, what challenges are they facing right now?
So, like looking at recent news, press releases.
Exactly. Press releases, earnings reports, if they're public, check out what their leaders are posting on LinkedIn, understand the industry they're in, what are the big trends.
Okay. So you can connect your skills to their actual situation.
Yes. If you can say something like, I saw your recent push into sustainable packaging, and my background in supply chain optimization could really help streamline that. Boom. You sound strategic, not just like someone looking for any job.
That's a huge difference. It's showing you've thought about them.
Totally. Okay, pillar 2, the role. Seems obvious, but you have to dissect that job description, line by line, no skimming.
Really break it down.
Yeah. Identify the specific skills they're asking for. Is it Python, stakeholder management, content creation? Highlight those keywords. That's your checklist.
Zero to target list. Got it.
And pillar 3 brings it all together, yourself. Once you have that list of skills they need, you need to dig into your own experience. Find specific stories, verifiable examples.
Proof.
Proof where you use those exact skills. This story bank, that's what you rely on, not a script. Each story should directly map back to one of those skills from the job description.
Okay, that makes preparation feel much more targeted, strategic even, not just vague homework.
Right.
So let's move to that first moment of truth. They sit you down, maybe offer you water, and then tell me about yourself.
The classic opener.
It's so open-ended, people either freeze or they ramble on about their entire life story, starting with kindergarten.
Yeah, it's a disaster zone because people misunderstand what the interviewer's actually looking for.
What are they looking for?
They don't want your autobiography. They want a quick, professional summary. Think of it like your elevator pitch, but specifically tailored to this job. It needs to connect your background directly to the role they're trying to fill.
Okay, so filter out the noise. No high school sports achievements unless they're somehow relevant, which they probably aren't.
Probably not. You need a professional highlight reel. And there's a simple structure the sources recommend to keep it focused, ideally under, say, 60 seconds.
A minute max. Okay, what's the structure?
It's simple: present, past, and future.
Present, past, future. Okay.
Start with the present. Who are you professionally right now? What's your current role or situation? 1 or 2 sentences. Anchor yourself.
Got it.
Then the past. Briefly touch on the key experiences or education that are directly relevant to this job's requirements. You're curating your history here. Match it to their needs, those skills you identified.
So only the relevant stuff.
Only the relevant stuff. And then the future. This is maybe the most important part. Why are you excited about this specific role at this specific company?
Connecting it back to their needs again.
Yes. This shows you did your homework on Pillar 1, the company research. It shows purpose. You're not just applying everywhere. You want this job.
Okay, let's try that structure. Say someone's applying for a technical content writer role, needs tech knowledge and communication skills.
All right. They could say something like, well, currently I'm working as a technical analyst, focusing on making complex data architecture understandable for our business teams. That's the present. I developed a skill set over 5 years in the software industry, really specializing in user documentation and UX writing. That's the past. And I'm really excited about this particular role, future, because your company's mission to make enterprise software more accessible resonates with me, and I see a great opportunity here to use my communication skills to help improve your product adoption.
Wow. Okay. That's tight. It covers backgrounds, skills, and crucially, that specific interest in them, all pretty quickly. No rambling.
Exactly. Efficient. Establishes value right away.
Okay, so the opener is nailed. Now we get into the meat of it, those behavioral questions.
The tell me about a time when questions.
Right. Tell me about a time you showed initiative, or describe how you handled a conflict, or give me an example of dealing with a difficult customer. They want proof.
They want evidence. And this is where a lot of candidates, frankly, fall down.
How so?
They give vague answers. They talk generally, or they tell a long story about what the team did, not what they did. Or they spend ages setting the scene and then forget the punchline, the outcome.
Right, you hear that sometimes. Lots of setup, no payoff.
Exactly. These questions demand specifics, details, anecdotes. But structured anecdotes. If you just wing it, you risk leaving out the bits the interviewer actually cares about.
Which are?
Your personal action and the measurable result. What did you do and what happened because of it?
Okay, so how do we make sure we deliver that? Is there a technique?
There is. And it's pretty much the industry standard for acing these questions. It's called the STAR method.
STAR? S-T-A-R. Okay, I've heard of this. It provides structure, right? Like guardrails for your story?
Perfect word. Guardrails. It keeps your answer clear, logical, and ensures you hit all the key points.
So let's break it down. What does STAR stand for?
Okay. S is for situation. First, you briefly describe the context, set the scene, who, what, where. Keep it concise, though.
Okay, situation.
Example. In my previous role at Company X, our main client reporting system went down right before a major deadline. Simple context.
Got it. Then T.
T is for task. What was your specific responsibility or goal in that situation? What were you supposed to achieve? Not the team's goal, your goal.
Your specific mission.
Yes. So to continue the example, my task was to find a workaround and manually generate the key performance reports within 24 hours so the client presentation could still happen.
Okay. Situation, task. Next is A.
A is for action. This is the core of it. What steps did you personally take? Use I statements here. I did this. I decided that. I analyzed.
This is where you prove your skills.
Exactly. What was your strategy? What actions did you perform? Be specific. I gathered the raw data from 3 different sources. I built a temporary model in Excel, and I coordinated with the account manager to verify the numbers.
Okay, very clear I statements. And finally, R.
R is for result. What was the outcome of your actions? What happened? And crucially, make it measurable if possible. Quantify the success.
Measurable results, like saving money or hitting a deadline.
Exactly. Did you save time? Increase efficiency. Retain a client. Improve a process. So the result might be, as a result, the client received the reports on time, the presentation was successful, and we actually identified an inefficiency in the old system thanks to the manual process, which led to a future improvement.
Situation, task, action, result, STAR. It forces you to be specific and show impact.
It does, and that action step, the A, that's often the weak spot for people, like you said earlier.
Right, the we did this problem.
Yeah, they say, we worked really hard or we fixed it. That tells the interviewer nothing about your contribution.
So how do you drill down to the I? Is it just practice?
Practice, and that pillar 3 preparation, yourself. When you're building that story bank we talked about, force yourself to identify your specific actions for each story. Ask yourself, what exactly did I do? If you catch yourself saying we during the interview, pause for a split second and rephrase using I suggested, I implemented, I persuaded.
Okay, let's try STAR on a trickier one. What about, tell me about a time you failed or made a significant mistake? People hate that question.
They do, but STAR is perfect for it because it naturally leads to showing you learned something. It forces that positive resolution.
Okay, how would that sound?
All right, maybe. Situation. In my last project, I was leading the rollout of a new feature, but I underestimated the complexity of the user testing required. Task pacewood. My goal was a smooth, bug-free launch. Action. Unfortunately, a critical bug slipped through and impacted users on day one. My immediate action was to take ownership, communicate transparently with the users about the fixed timeline, and I personally worked with a dev team overnight to patch it. Crucially, I then implemented a much more rigorous pre-launch testing checklist for all future releases. Result 4. We fixed the bug within 18 hours, maintained user trust because we were upfront, and the new checklist I created has since prevented similar issues on subsequent launches, reducing critical bugs by about 30%.
Wow. Okay, that takes a negative and turns it into a positive outcome through the structure. It shows accountability, problem solving, and learning.
Exactly what they want to see. Not someone who's never failed, but someone who knows how to handle failure constructively.
All right, so we've got preparation sorted, we've got the STAR method for structure, but let's be real. Stuff happens, brains freeze.
The human element.
Yeah. That moment we talked about at the start, the question comes, maybe it's unexpected, or you thought you had a story, but blank. Total mind freeze. What do you do then? Because panic feels inevitable.
It feels inevitable, but it doesn't have to be. That freezing feeling, that's adrenaline. Your fight or flight response kicking in.
Okay.
The very first step is just to recognize it.
Yeah.
And know you can manage it. So the immediate advice, do not panic. Take a breath. A slow, deliberate, deep breath. It actually helps physiologically, slows the heart rate down a bit.
Just breathe. Okay.
Then you need your safety net. A pre-planned professional phrase that buys you time. The absolute worst thing you can do is fill the silence with. Like those panicked fillers, they just scream nervousness.
Right. So what are these magic recovery phrases? What should we have ready?
They're actually really simple and often quite flattering to the interviewer. Something like, that's a really interesting question. Let me just take a moment to think about that properly.
Okay, that sounds calm.
Or even simpler. That's a great question. Let me gather my thoughts for a second to give you a good answer.
Doesn't that make you look unprepared, though? Asking for time?
You'd think so, but no.
Yeah.
The sources say it actually does the opposite. It works on a couple of levels.
Yeah.
First, it genuinely buys you, maybe 3 to 5 seconds, which honestly is often enough for your brain to catch up and find that story in your mental library.
Right. Sometimes it's just that initial jolt you need to get past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, psychologically, it signals thoughtfulness, maturity. Compare it to someone rushing into a rambling, incoherent answer just to fill the silence.
Yeah, that looks way worse.
A deliberate pause, framed by a confident phrase like that, shows you value quality over just speed. It shows you're considering the question seriously. A couple of seconds of silence is professional. A stream of ums is not.
Okay, that's a powerful reframe. Silence isn't the enemy. It can be a tool. But what if? What if it's more than just a momentary freeze? What if you genuinely rack your brain and you cannot think of a specific example that fits their question perfectly? They ask about, I don't know, managing a hostile takeover, and you've never done that.
Right. The specific scenario just isn't in your experience bank. That's when you deploy the backup strategy, the pivot. or the redirect.
Pivoting, like in basketball.
Kind of. You acknowledge the question, but then you pivot to something related that does showcase the underlying skill they're actually probing for.
Ah, okay. So every behavioral question is really testing a deeper skill, right? Like leadership or communication or dealing with ambiguity.
Exactly. They might ask about firing someone, but the underlying skill could be handling difficult conversations or making tough decisions under pressure or following process meticulously.
So you find a story that demonstrates that skill even if the situation was different.
Yes. You bridge the gap. You'd say something like, I haven't been in that exact situation of managing a hostile takeover, but I have managed projects through periods of intense organizational change and uncertainty, which required very similar skills in strategic planning, risk assessment, and stakeholder communication. And then you launch into your star story about that experience.
So you acknowledge, then bridge, then provide a relevant example.
Acknowledge, bridge, star. You got it. Let's try another one. Say they ask a tech person about scaling a system using, QuantiFlux DB, and you've never used QuantiFlux DB.
Okay.
You pivot. Well, I haven't specifically worked with QuantiFlux DB itself. I did recently lead the migration of our legacy CRM to a new cloud platform. That required deep understanding of database architecture, scalability principles, and managing data integrity during transition. Very similar challenges to what you'd face scaling with any new database tech. For instance, launch into star story about the CRM migration.
You're connecting the underlying principles and skills.
Yes. You're showing you have the relevant competence, even if not with that exact tool or exact scenario. It's like that driving analogy in the sources. If there's a roadblock on your planned route, you don't just stop the car and give up.
You find another way to get to the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You reroute. You prove you can still get the job done. It turns a potential, into here's how I solve similar problems. Hashtag IV. Navigating body language and tricky questions.
Okay, pivot strategy noted. Super useful. Now, we've talked a lot about the words, the content, but interviews aren't just audio, right? There's the whole visual aspect, body language.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Some sources estimate nonverbals account for, over half the impression you make? Maybe even 60%?
Wow. So what signals are we trying to send? What does confident, engaged, but also approachable body language look like? That calm energy you mentioned?
Right. Calm energy is the goal. It starts with posture.
Okay.
The DAWs.
Yeah.
Sit upright, but not stiffly.
Mm-hmm.
Shoulders back and relaxed, not hunched over. Maintain natural eye contact. You don't need to stare them down.
Please don't.
No. But look at them when you're speaking. Look at them when they're speaking. It's okay to briefly look away thoughtfully, but generally connect with your eyes. A gentle, genuine smile when appropriate helps too. And small nods when they're talking shows you're listening and engaged.
Okay, sit tall, relax shoulders, eye contact, smile, nod. What about the don'ts? What are the classic nervous giveaways?
Fidgeting is a big one. Tapping fingers, playing with a pen, bouncing your leg, touching your hair or face constantly. Try to minimize that.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. But awareness helps. Also, avoid crossing your arms. It just tends to look defensive or closed off, even if you don't mean it to. And watch your breathing. Shallow, rapid breathing can make you sound rushed or anxious. Try for those calm, deeper breaths we talked about.
Good point. What about the first impression? The handshake. Still a thing. How firm is firm enough?
Generally, yes, still a thing unless circumstances clearly dictate otherwise. And the handshake needs to be firm. A limp handshake feels, unconfident. But, and this is important, not a bone crusher.
Right. Don't overcompensate.
Exactly. A crushing grip can come across as aggressive or trying too hard. Aim for firm, confident, and pair it with that direct eye contact and a warm smile. It's about projecting approachability and self-assurance simultaneously.
Calm energy again. Okay, let's pivot back to verbal land.
Yeah.
The really tricky questions. Top of the list has to be, what's your biggest weakness?
Ah, yes. The dreaded weakness question. Everyone hates it.
It feels like a trap. How do you answer honestly without shooting yourself in the foot?
It is designed to test you, but not necessarily to trap you. It tests self-awareness, honesty, and crucially, your commitment to growth.
So what's the strategy? You can't just say, I have no weaknesses.
Definitely not. And you absolutely must avoid the cliche non-weaknesses. I'm a perfectionist. Or I work too hard.
Right, the humble brags.
Interviewers see right through those. They signal you didn't take the question seriously or you're trying to dodge it. The key is be honest but strategic. Choose a real but manageable weakness. Something that isn't absolutely critical to the core function of the job you're applying for. Maybe it's public speaking anxiety if the role isn't presentation heavy, or perhaps getting bogged down in detail sometimes.
But admitting a real weakness still feels risky.
It's only half the answer. The crucial second part is immediately following up with the specific, concrete steps you are actively taking to improve or mitigate that weakness. This is non-negotiable.
Ah, the action plan.
Exactly. It shows you're self-aware enough to identify it and proactive enough to be working on it. So you might say, one area I've focused on improving is delegation. Early in my career, I sometimes took on too much myself, thinking it was faster, the weakness. But I realized this wasn't scalable and limited my team's growth. So the action I took a workshop on effective delegation, started using project management tools to assign tasks more clearly, and implemented regular check-ins. As a result, the improvement my teams are now more empowered, and we're delivering larger projects more efficiently.
Okay. Weakness plus action plus improvement. That structure turns it positive. It shows growth mindset.
That's the goal. Proves you learn and adapt.
Now, what about things you should just never say or do? The absolute deal breakers, the red flags that get your resume thrown straight into the no pile.
There are a few major ones that scream unprofessionalism or poor fit.
Hit me.
Number one,
Yeah.
probably the biggest killer,
Yeah.
bad-mouthing. Never, ever, ever speak negatively about a previous employer, boss, or colleague. Ever.
Even if they were genuinely awful.
Even then, frame challenges professionally,
Yeah.
focus on what you learned. If you trash talk your last job, the interviewer just thinks, okay, they'll trash talk us too when they leave. It shows disloyalty and lack of discretion. Huge red flag.
Got it. No bad mouthing. What else?
Second, showing desperation, saying things like, I really just need a job, or honestly, I'll take anything at this point.
Oof. Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
It signals you don't care about this specific role or this specific company. You just want a job, any job. Companies want people who are genuinely interested in them and the opportunity they offer.
Makes sense. You need to show targeted interest.
Which leads to the third red flag, lack of purpose or research. This ties back to pillar one. If you can't articulate why you want to work at this company beyond generic reasons, if you haven't clearly thought about how your skills fit their needs, it shows.
It suggests you're just firing off applications without real thought.
Exactly. It looks like you see them as just another stepping stone, or you couldn't be bothered to do the basic research. Always connect your interest back to something specific about them, their mission, their products, their culture, their challenges. Show you want this job, not just a job. Hashtag to buff, polishing the delivery, and closing the loop. So we've covered a lot: preparation, structure, handling nerves, avoiding pitfalls. But there's one more layer.
What's that?
Your actual delivery. Your tone of voice. You could have the perfect star story, the best recovery phrase. But if you deliver it in a rushed, monotone, or overly nervous way,
It falls flat.
it totally undermines everything else. The right words need the right delivery to land effectively.
Okay, so how do we polish that? It's hard to know how you sound to others.
It is, which is why the sources offer a really practical, maybe slightly uncomfortable, but super effective tip.
Let's hear it.
Record yourself. Use your phone. Video's great, but even just audio. Practice answering common interview questions out loud and record it.
Oh, wow. Okay, then listen back.
Then listen back or watch it. It's incredibly revealing.
I can imagine. Cringy, probably.
Maybe a little, but it creates instant self-awareness. You'll hear things you don't notice in the moment. Are you talking way too fast? Is your voice going up nervously at the end of sentences? Are you overusing filler words, those leaks, basically av?
You'd spot those patterns right away.
Instantly. And once you're aware of a pattern, like saying you know every other sentence, you can start consciously working to replace it. Maybe replace it with that strategic pause we talked about. Breathe instead of filling the space.
That's a really actionable tip. Record, review, refine.
Simple but powerful.
Okay, so the interview is drawing to a close. You've answered their questions. Then comes that final moment where the tables turn.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes, that moment. What's the cardinal rule here, according to our sources?
The rule is absolute. You must ask questions. Period.
Never say, no, I think you've covered everything.
Never, ever, ever say that. Or, no, I don't have any questions right now. It's possibly the worst way to end the interview.
Why is it so bad?
It signals a lack of engagement, a lack of curiosity, a lack of critical thinking. It makes it seem like you're just passively receiving information, not actively evaluating if this role and company are the right fit for you.
Ah, because the interview is a two-way street, right?
Exactly. You should be interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Asking thoughtful questions is your chance to gather information you need, and it also demonstrates your interest and professionalism.
So how many questions should you prepare? And what makes a question strong?
Aim to have maybe 3 to 4 prepared, thoughtful questions ready. You might not ask all of them, depending on how the conversation flows, but have them in your back pocket.
And what kind of questions? Not just about salary or vacation time right away, I assume.
Definitely save compensation specifics for later stages, unless they bring it up. Strong questions dig deeper. They often focus on culture, team dynamics, expectations, or the company's future.
Can you give us some examples listeners could adapt?
Sure, good ones might be. Looking ahead, what are the biggest opportunities or challenges facing this team in the next year? Or, what does success look like in this role during the first 90 days or 6 months?
Okay, those show you're thinking about performance and contribution.
Right? Another good angle is professional development. How does the company support ongoing learning or skill development for people in this type of role?
That shows you're invested in growth.
Or, even better, tie a question back to something discussed earlier. Shows you were listening intently. You mentioned earlier that improving cross-department collaboration is a priority. How does this role typically interact with the marketing team, for example?
Ooh, I like that. Connects the dots, reinforces your engagement.
Exactly. It really elevates the conversation. And honestly, asking good questions also helps boost your own confidence. It's just the power dynamic slightly. You're not just the one being grilled, you're an active participant evaluating the opportunity.
Very true. Okay, so the questions are asked, answers given, handshakes exchanged, firmly but not crushingly. You walk out the door. Is it over?
Not quite. One final crucial step, the follow-up.
The thank you note. Still necessary.
Absolutely. Send a brief professional thank you email within 24 hours of the interview.
What should it say? Just thanks for your time.
A little more than that. Thank them specifically for their time. Briefly mention something specific you discussed that resonated with you. Maybe a project they mentioned or an aspect of the role you found particularly interesting. This shows you were paying attention and reminds them of the connection you made.
Okay.
And then simply reiterate your strong interest in the role and briefly state why you believe you're a great fit, perhaps linking back to one key qualification. Keep it concise, polite, and proofread carefully.
Why is this so important? Does it really make a difference?
It shows professionalism, courtesy, and continued enthusiasm. In a competitive situation where they might be deciding between a few strong candidates, that simple, timely follow-up can genuinely be the small detail that tips the scales in your favor. It keeps your name fresh in their mind and reinforces a positive impression. Don't skip it. #TagOutro.
Wow. Okay, that was a really comprehensive deep dive into navigating the job interview conversation from preparation mindset all the way to the thank you note.
Covered a lot of ground.
We really did. So, if you're listening and feeling overwhelmed, let's boil it down. Maybe 3 key takeaways. First, prepare by understanding ideas, not just memorizing answers. Build that story bank.
Foundational.
Second, use the STAR method for those behavioral questions. Situation, task, action, result. It forces clarity and impact.
Your structured storytelling tool.
And third, when, not if, but when your mind momentarily freezes, don't panic, breathe. Use that recovery phrase. That's a great question. Let me take a moment. Buy yourself time calmly.
Absolutely. Remember, interviews are conversations, fundamentally. They're trying to get to know you, how you think, how you solve problems. They aren't expecting perfection or robotic answers.
You're looking for a capable human being.
Exactly. Be prepared, be authentic, use these strategies, and remember that pause can be your superpower.
Which actually leads perfectly into our final provocative thought for you this week. We spent a lot of time talking about the power of that strategic pause in the high-stakes interview setting. How confidently saying, let me think about that, is better than panicked feller.
Right, mastering the pause.
So think beyond the interview. Where else in your current professional life could you benefit from deploying that deliberate pause? Is it in a tough negotiation, a performance review, when responding to critical feedback, or even just in a fast-paced team meeting where everyone's talking over each other?
Interesting extension.
Could you improve the quality, the thoughtfulness, and the perceived confidence of your contributions simply by giving yourself and maybe others that intentional 2 or 3 seconds to breathe and think before responding instead of reacting instantly?
That power of the pause. It really does extend far beyond just getting a job.
Something to mull over. How mastering that silence in one area can improve communication everywhere else.
Great thought to end on.
Thanks for tuning into the deep dive. We'll talk to you next time.